Hello students, once again I welcome all of you to the session on organizational behavior as a subject. We are going to deal with a topic called group dynamics. Now it's a very interesting subject because interesting topic because in the previous video session we had seen that we are all part of groups. You cannot escape living in a group. As I told you, right from the day you were born into a group called family, and then you learn to play with your neighborhood kids, which is called a friendship group, and then once you grow older, as you are stepping into the school, you are part of a school as a group, classroom as a group. Likewise, you are also part of college as a group of young people, and if you are part of a cultural association, it is also called a guild, which is also called a group. Or if you are part of a cricket team, you are learning to play cricket, you are part of a cricket club, which is also called a group. So likewise, once you finish off your education in the college, you step into a job, you are part of a group called economic group. So there are various types of groups that we had talked about in the previous class or previous video session. Now how groups form, how groups develop, how groups contribute, these are very important issues. In the previous presentations, we had seen the formation of the group. As you are responsible for it, you are also responsible for its growth, you are also responsible for its development, and you are also responsible for its effectiveness, which means you are responsible for their contribution to the productivity. So, but in this course, we are going to see how group dynamics, which means as I move from the slide to slide, you would understand that group dynamics is a complex phenomenon, like how members in a group, they struggle to relate to each other, they will have lot of mixed reactions, lot of conflicts, lot of issues related to the relationships. How do they address all of those? We are going to see all of them as we move from this first slide. I hope you would enjoy this session again. What is the definition of a word called group and group dynamics? We had seen in the previous presentation that group consists of any two or more members together, and then they have a common shared purpose, they interact with each other, and they are also psychologically aware of each other. For example, if I raise a question, a group of members or a group of people in an elevator, would you call them a group? Because it is a number and they are also sharing that service, and they are all getting down at one common destination, some floors, but are they psychologically aware of each other? Definitely not. They are strangers. Therefore, accept one characteristic, rest of all characteristics fit as a group, but they are not psychologically aware of each other. Therefore, such groups will not continue to exist. Similarly, so if I raise this question, if you are part of a classroom, do you think all the classmates are psychologically aware of each other? You must also know what do you mean by psychologically being aware of each other. That means you would know personally each other, you would know each other's tastes, each other's hobbies, you would also know each other's interests, you would also know each other's family members to that extent. But I am sure 100% that in any class, the classmates are not mentally or psychologically aware of each other to that extent. Therefore, I still question whether class should be called a group. I have my own reservations, but I leave it to you. I want you to critically analyze. In a cinema theater, you are all part of a queue for buying your cinema ticket. Do you think this queue should be called a group? Because there are numbers, more than 2, and they are also sharing the common goal, that is watching a new movie, new show. But are they psychologically aware of each other? Definitely not. Now the question is, when such groups come together, slowly when they start becoming psychologically aware of each other, it will unfold so many challenges which are in general called problems. So therefore, group dynamics as a topic refers to the interactions among the members, the attitudes of the members, and the behaviors of all the members within a group or between the groups. Sometimes when I say between the groups, there are two groups which will have interactions. As we move further, I will try to share those examples, But once again, let us reinforce ourselves with this understanding. Group dynamics refers to our interactions among the members, the attitudes of the members and the behaviors of all the individuals inside a group or between the groups. So, it is not that easy to explain them. For example, when I say interactions, what do you mean by that? The communications that members have amongst themselves. In a small group, you might interact with each other, but in a large group, if 30 or 300 members are there, do you think you would interact with each other? It is very challenging, not only for them, even for a manager to interact with all 300 people at a time itself is very challenging, leave alone interacting with 30 people. I might interact with 8 people on an average, because 8 is called an ideal group member size. But today's economic environment demands that less number of bosses, more number of subordinates because of cost cutting. So, as a boss, I might be supervising 300 people, but what else we can do? You have to accept these kind of challenges in the workplace, because such demands are imposed on you. So, therefore, understanding the dynamics, that means the complexities involved in managing the groups, or sometimes as a member of the group you also experience such kind of dynamics like challenges. So, how do you survive? If you do not survive, naturally you will not become a leader. If you do not survive, you will be ignored, you will be left behind. So, you will not be progressing, people will not recognize you, your identities are shunned. So, when you are not exposed or when you are not visible to the world, nobody would recognize you. So, in this world of group dynamics, how do you thrive and survive? That is going to be the major challenge as a member. But as I told you, if you are a manager, you are supposed to understand the dynamics and help the group grow and develop and contribute. So, therefore, let us see, there are 2 types of dynamics in a group that you are responsible for understanding, or you will also experience it. If you are just a member of a group, you would be experiencing it, but if you are supervising groups, it would be still challenging to address them, because you are responsible for their growth, development and effectiveness, as I told you repeatedly. So, therefore, let us look at what are these types. So, there are 2 types of group dynamics that as a manager you would be experiencing in your work roles. So, first one is called positive group dynamics, the next one is called negative group dynamics. So, what do you mean by positive group dynamics? In a positive group dynamics context, people will be very positive, very proactive. What does it mean? Proaction means positive reaction. What do you mean by positive reaction? You know, when people make mistakes, you understand them, help them overcome those mistakes so that they will not repeat it. Whereas in a reactive stance, what would you do? When somebody makes a mistake, you punish them, you shout at them, you will be very harsh with them. Imagine if you are a mother, your child drops a tumbler of glass water, it will break into pieces. Do you think you will be very polite with that child? Every mother I have seen would have reacted, shouted at the little child, and little child becomes so panicky and then starts crying. But how many mothers would really say that, don't worry, it is just a tumbler, don't bother about it, we will buy a brand new one? Do you think a mother reacts like that? That if she reacts, she is very proactive. But honestly, I am telling you, 99% of mothers are always reactive, and naturally that little child who had such influence of mother reacting, same child will grow with such kind of reactions as reaches the adulthood and the workplace as a manager. So, you can imagine right from the childhood, these reactive experiences are instilled in our brain. So, how do you overcome them? It is only through practice. Believe me, anything that you want to adopt as a change, it is also a matter of practice. We always talk a lot of things, but we do very less. So, therefore, positive group dynamics should be your ultimate pursuit as a manager as well as a member of a group, because 2 responsibilities you have, as I told you from the beginning. In the previous class also we talked about the responsibilities that we have. You are either you are a part of a group as a member, you are also responsible for supervising a group. These are the 2 responsibilities. The first one is a challenging responsibility, struggling to survive. The second one is, it will determine whether you would be in the job or not. If you do not know how to help the groups grow, develop and contribute to the productivity, it costs you a job. So, don't you think you should take this subject much more serious than ever before? And therefore, I am trying to overemphasize how to understand positive group dynamics. But believe me, in our workplaces also, you will have the second type called negative group dynamics. So, what do you mean by negative group dynamics? It is just an opposite of positive group dynamics. What does it mean? People are very reacting. For example, somebody comes late to the team or late to the meeting. Do you think the boss would tolerate? One time, two time, three time? I don't think the boss would tolerate. He reacts. He shouts at them badly, and then he will be very sarcastic. He will look down upon them. He uses all reviling words, and I have seen in certain workplaces where people even use abusive language. In these modern times, why should they? Because today everybody is highly qualified, educated well. Why should they use reviling words, which means very harsh, sometimes bad words? It is out of reaction. So, therefore, what if your group has certain negative dynamics? How do you manage them as a boss? Now, the negative group dynamics also has another dimension called defensive group dynamics. In reactive, you are very angry with the members, or members among themselves are angry with each other, they shout at each other, sometimes they physically also fight with each other. Some groups go to that extent finally. And then you need to pacify them. It will be referred to disciplinary proceedings, domestic inquiries will be held, some fellows will be fined, some fellows will be warned, some fellows will be checked out of the jobs or fired. So, it is a big issue. But look at the second dimension called the defensive group dynamics. In defensive group dynamics, the very peculiarity is people, they defend their turf, that means their ground, their seat, their position, they defend their position at any cost, but they are unwilling to take the risk, or they are unwilling to help the customer or the client by giving them a prompt service. Most of the government services, what would have happened? You go to a clerk, the clerk says, no, it is not here, go to the next table. That is called passing the buck. Likewise, in one department, I remember years ago I have experienced, in one department, from one corner to the other corner I went into all, and all of them are members of that department only, and nobody was willing to help me, and each of them were passing the buck to the next guy. So, I went on like this, and finally I went to some senior manager, and then I told them this is what is happening. Then I am so and so, I have a problem like this, I came to, but your staff are always passing on the buck. Then he called the supervisor, and then the supervisor helped me out. So, you can understand what is called a defensive group dynamics, which means the members in a group are unwilling to help each other. Eventually, the members of a group are not willing to help the customers or the client. I have seen in one hospital, I do not want to name them for confidentialities. In that hospital, an old woman was brought to the hospital because she fell down and broke her thigh bone, and this young boy is a grandson of that woman. He is struggling to convince the people to immediately admit her into the hospital, but the front office people, they were all saying that, please wait, somebody would come and address it, and that somebody would not come because it is exactly shift change time. So, therefore, all people were passing on the buck, but that poor lady was suffering from that excruciating pain, old lady. You can imagine that hospital, nobody was willing to help her. That is exactly called defensive group dynamics. Front office people are like that, the nurses are like that, the ward boys were like that, the doctors were also like that, and the managers were also like that. So, if that is the case, how do you trust hospitals today? So, do not you think if you are working in a hospital as a manager, you would immediately rush to this woman and address all these front office people, nurses people, and take them to the task? How many managers would do that like that? So, therefore, let us go back to the model from our previous video session, wherein we had seen how groups form, right. So, we have seen that groups form based on membership variables and task variables. So, what are those membership variables or concepts? Size of the group, similarities of the group or compatibilities of the members in the group, their personal characteristics and also their personal goals. Similarly, the nature of task which is liking to them or disliking to them in a physical environment, or organizational environment which refers to the rules, positions, paperwork, protocols and so on. And also people join groups because of competition. What if in a workplace the groups are subjected to competition? If the group comes out with the best quality product, they are the winners for that year. Or if a group reduces wastage in their workplace, they are the winners. So, on an Independence Day celebration or Republic Day celebration, the chairman of the company or the MD of the company will hand over the cash award to this group. Imagine if such practices are there in the workplaces, all the groups will become heavily competitive. They all want to contribute well to the company. As a result, they mutually benefit and also the company benefits from what they are doing for the company. So, now once the groups are formed through the interaction of membership variables and the nature of task variables, when both of these interact, you can see that the groups develop. Now, this is our concern in a topic called group dynamics. Group dynamics could be seen in this box. What does it mean? How the groups develop. So, groups develop particularly with the concepts, we can see them as communication patterns they develop. Number 2, role structures, that means who should be doing what. And then next one is norms, how to behave, how to be prompt to the meetings, why they should not be coming late to the groups, how to particularly have a etiquette, we call it, basically called meeting etiquette, how to be part of a meeting. For example, I have seen some people talk about their food that they had before, or they will talk about yesterday's TV serial. I have seen some people remember some, and they will be cutting jokes with each other. No, but norms means certain expectations in a group. The members are not supposed to talk on any deviant topics. Unfortunately, I am sure you all would have experienced in your own life experiences, workplace experiences, people deviate. So, groups are supposed to have certain norms, which means certain expectations. Be prompt to the meeting, come in time, focus, discuss only work related issues or any agenda that is planned, but no more deviations. So, we will talk about those quickly. Now, as we move, groups also develop very interesting point called cohesiveness, which I very briefly addressed in the previous presentation. Today, we will see a little more. So, what is cohesiveness? Cohesiveness is called the degree of attraction the members have for themselves in a particular group. So, as I told you, what if a company conducts competitions among the groups so that cash awards are given away to the groups which are the winners? Let us say a group which saves huge money for the company for that year is the winner. So, when a cash prize is given away to them on the Republic Day or Independence Day celebrations by the company MD or the chairman or the CEO, all the members of the group, they share that money with lot of joy and happiness, and that motivates, reinforces them further. So, I wonder such kind of experiences are prevalent in your workplaces. If you are working, explore that. You can pass on this idea to your HR manager. I am telling you, your groups will become heavily competitive and they will try to outperform each other, and that is the way your companies will benefit. So, to what extent the members are sticking together to a particular group is defined as cohesiveness. Sometimes this is also a dangerous topic, we will talk about as we move further. More cohesive groups are more challenging groups, because if they are very cohesive, they will decide how much to work, how much not to work. So, that is why you as a manager should understand that how much are they cohesive. Sometimes they are too cohesive, they will decide whether to work or not, whether to slow it or not, whether to speed up the work or not. So, that is why sometimes what I do if I am the manager, too much cohesive groups are very dangerous because they will decide to produce or not. So, what I will do, I have to divide and rule, there is no other way. I have to pick out some members and join some new members. As a result, cohesiveness comes to the normalcy. So, too much is always too bad, as we say that even with the concept called cohesiveness. Lastly, how leadership develops. In group dynamics, what happens? Leaders emerge very naturally. We wouldn't know who is going to be a leader, but you would realize that a leader emerges very naturally. I have seen it in one of my personal experiences. Earlier I was working in a hospital. One day I was coming down and I had seen an old man driving a car, and something happened, probably brakes failed. This man kept hitting so many people on the roadside. I have seen there people are like, they are just flying and then falling on the footpath, as if it happens in a cinema. I was surprised, what is happening? And then somehow he managed to slow down the car after reaching some place. But there were so many people fell on the roadside. Somebody was not able to talk, he had a jaw problem, somebody broke, fractures everywhere, a lot of people. So what, I was just waiting for some friend to meet that place. Then what I did immediately, it is not my natural response actually, but because I worked in the hospitals, I have a concern for anybody who suffers. Immediately I rushed and called for autos, put them into the autos, because the nearby hospital is some other hospital, some private hospital. And then this old man stopped the car. I called that man. He said, "Sir, you have to immediately take these people to the hospital, admit them, take care of their treatment. Otherwise, it will become a big issue. If somebody dies, you may have to pay huge penalty, court cases, police cases, all that is going to be a big issue." So that man instructed all the auto drivers to take them to the nearby hospital and admit them. You know what exactly happened? It's so naturally I emerged as a leader. Otherwise, I am not a leader. I am just standing there, passing, watching, waiting for a friend of mine. So this happens, in any crisis situation, in any challenging situation, in any problem situation, one could emerge as a leader. I am telling you, nobody could be called a born leader. It's only a situation that makes you leader, provided you react to a situation. So therefore, let's slowly get into this dynamics, and then we'll come back to the last part of this model called effectiveness, how the groups contribute to the business goals. Eventually, they are also satisfied as a member when they achieve, and the company also is satisfied because of the accomplishment of the task. So now what we will do, we will slowly get into each of these aspects called group dynamics. In other words, how groups develop communication patterns, roles, structures, norms, cohesiveness, and so on. So let's start with it, each of them. So now first we will go to the roles, and then we will come back to the communication patterns. Now there are three types of roles members in the groups perform. So you can note down these points later on, but listen to me. Task role is the most important role in any group. Every one of us should perform certain tasks in life. I personally understood that right from childhood, if your parents are assigning you any roles, don't nudge, don't be bugged up, accept them as a child. As a young fellow, if you are not accepting the roles assigned by your parents, they will be eventually passed on to your brothers or your sisters. You know why I am telling you? If you perform task roles, your personality improves, you will become more matured eventually. And then tomorrow on the job, when certain roles are given to you, you will be very comfortable in performing and people will appreciate you. So therefore, task roles are very important in any group. So you have to take initiatives to perform these roles. That means your basic job I am referring to. Now second one is called the maintenance roles. This is a very important one because maintenance roles are, if groups are drifting, these roles are very important. For example, if all the people are shouting at each other, how there would be any peace? How communication is said to have taken place in a group? It doesn't. So therefore, a person called Ananya should ensure that everybody is heard and then finally a decision is made. This is exactly called maintaining peace in a group so that all the members of the group will have an individual role. For example, let us say you are planning for a picnic. So all the members say, no, let's go to Araku Valley. Somebody will say, no, we'll go to Telangana Anantagiri Hills. No, somebody would say, let's go to Nagarjuna Sagar Dam. Now, if three ideas emerge, I'm sure there will be lot of noise, lot of tension in the group. So, how do you ensure that you listen to everybody and you emerge as Ananya and then suggest them how best we can go to a place where everybody would enjoy. So, come with a better idea as to how people can come to peace. That is exactly called maintenance role. Now, these roles are very important. There are some people in you as students, you are known for restoring peace in any kind of a situation. For example, if parents are fighting, other family members are fighting, you intervene and neutralize everything. That means you have performed the maintenance role better. Now, self-oriented roles, this is a very peculiar, it is a reactive role. It is also called negative group dynamics. So, in this role what would happen? You can see that Rahul disrupts by always seeking credit from others. This is something to do with finance. In a workplace, remember that we should never encourage this kind of practices. If you want to take some credit from money as a credit from somebody, it is your headache. And we are living in tough times, that if you want to give money to somebody, do not expect that that fellow is going to return it. So, therefore, these are all very reactive, negative group dynamics oriented roles. We have to very carefully pay attention to these kind of roles. So, as we move to the next one, now task roles are expanded. I am not going to elaborate more on them, but you just have to know these are the lists. Maybe in your personal notes you can make them more. So, task roles are idea initiator, information seeker, somebody is called information provider, somebody is called problem clarifier, somebody is called a summarizer, somebody is called a consensus tester. So, everybody has some role to play in the group. All you have to do is identify if you are performing any of these roles. In most of my life experiences, I am always a summarizer. Second important role I performed is consensus tester. So, I can summarize, I can conclude, I can finish off any meetings which are breaking, which are not going anywhere. Now, maintenance roles, somebody is a harmonizer in a group whenever there is a problem, and somebody is called a gatekeeper who would encourage everybody to speak, and there is somebody who is called a supporter who is always friendly to all, somebody who is a compromiser who will always resolve the conflicts, and there is somebody who is called a standards monitor. This gentleman will also give importance to quality. So, these are the roles. Now, can you check up which role you are performing in your workplace today? That is how you can relate to this subject. Now, self-oriented roles, these are all negative, as I talked about, negative group dynamics. Somebody is a very aggressor, always hate, people hate. Somebody is a blocker, always resisting. Somebody who is always self-recognizing. He is seeking recognition from others. They want self-praise. Somebody is a dominator. Somebody who is avoiding. Somebody who is always pleading interest. That means voicing for others. Arey, why don't you listen to this man? I am an interest pleader. So, now there is a test called Belbin test. All of you could take it freely available on the internet. I have sent you this. You can see that web link. If you go to this test and take it, you would know which role are you comfortably performing in your personal lives or also workplaces. So, with that we go to the next one called group norms. Now, as I told you, groups are certain expectations are to be observed by the members of the groups. Do not be late, do not cut the jokes during a serious meeting, always focus on the agenda, do not drift on the topics, do not beat around the bush, come to the point. People lose the track. So, you bring them to the track. This is what we call norms. You are supposed to come well dressed to the meeting. Do not be shabby, do not drift, do not talk unnecessary things, always be focused. These are all called certain expectations. Do not come late to the meetings, do not come to the meeting without a book and a pencil. These are all called norms. So, how many members really follow? I have seen so many times when I go to any bank, nobody comes to bank with a pen and they will ask me, sir, can you give me your pen? I have seen even highly educated people, they do not go to the bank with a pen. It is a small expectation, no? Small norm, people divide. So, I have already talked about cohesiveness at length. So, high cohesiveness people, do you think they are all very highly productive, or low cohesive people are not highly productive? I will ask you to react on that. As I told you that if you are too cohesive, you will be very dangerous to the workplace, but moderate cohesiveness is something called productivity. So, let us look at a model suggested by Tuckman and then we can discontinue our topic. Now, Tuckman suggested back in 1965, I suppose, there are 5 stages through which any group will go through. First one is called forming stage, because here you have formed the group, they are all different individuals, you brought them together. So, that is called forming stage, that means they are all coming together. Second stage is called storming, that means they will have lot of internal conflict, internal tensions, they are fighting with each other, they do not know each other because they do not have psychological awareness. So, when they are storming, that means lot of conflicts, lot of shoutings there, you have to bring them to a third stage called norming. So, a group has to go through norming stage. So, you define the roles, who should be doing what, so that there is some peace, they will stop shouting. And then stage 4 is called performing. So, once you stop, you decide who should be doing what and then help them out, give them resources, they will start performing, they will be performing. And once they perform, the work is accomplished, then they will disband, that is called adjourning. The last stage is called adjourning. So, what is adjourning? They are going back to their respective seats because the group is done. So, every group would go through, but the toughest place is called the storming. As I told you, your roles and your personal issues all emerge in this place. So, that is it. I think when forming, members meet and discuss goals. In storming, conflicts need to be addressed. Who is going to be the leader? Who will be providing the direction? Norming stage, what are the rules to be made? What are the roles to be made clearer? And then performing, teams contribute to the business goals. Adjourning, they come to an end as the goals are accomplished. And now we go to the last point before we conclude our session, team effectiveness. What is that definition? In the previous presentation I said effectiveness is the extent to which a group accomplishes the purpose for which it was designed. So, when groups accomplish the purpose for which they were designed or developed, members evolve their satisfaction, they enjoy working together. And not only that, the members, the team successfully delivers the business goals, therefore our nations benefit. So, that is it. I thought I would share with you this in this session. I hope you have enjoyed this session. You can also raise some kind of a doubts in the chat box, probably I might answer as you raise them. Now, before we conclude, we can summarize that every group has to go through these 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. So, next time when you are part of a group, next time when you are part of a team, next time when you are inside a meeting, you have to decide to understand which stage is my group going through and what should be my role so that the group is still surviving and moving forward. For example, in stage 2, if nobody handles them, I am sure the groups die. So, let us no group die, because as I told you, if you are part of a group, your personality shapes up. If you are not part of a group, you will become isolated, you will become lonely in life, and then you will become very powerless, you will become hopeless, you will become helpless. And I hope you will not experience those kind of realities of life, and then learn to be part of a group, contribute to the group, and also learn to manage the groups effectively as you grow to the next positions. So, thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed learning this session. We will come back next time with another topic. Thank you very much for your patient listening.